into the online broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows. Interviewing celebrities and showrunners. And bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Hello, Daredevil fans. I always feel but welcome guys to the AFTERBUZZ TV after show for Daredevil. I always feel like I need to be like really somber because this music's really like deep and passionate and just like Daredevil's gonna mess you up.
Also, every time we leave an episode, it's never on like a happy note.
No, it's never. But
never had a
I am happy to be here at AFTERBUZZ TV talking about episode 11, The Path to Righteousness.
Uh-oh.
Righteous, bro.
Yeah.
That's what this.
That's really
It was a pretty
the whole
righteous episode.
Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I am your host, Zach Wilson. My fantastic panel tonight here, Jesse Klein, Jamie Elias. You can follow them at
Jess Klein 1, that's JESSKLEIN, the number 1.
And you can follow me at Jamie S. Elias, JAMIESELIAS. Hi, guys.
And you guys can follow me, tweet at me throughout the show, throughout the week at that Zach Wilson, THATZACHWILSON. And also make sure that you are using the hashtag ABTV Daredevil. And also make sure that you're subscribed to us on YouTube, iTunes, SoundCloud, all the places. All of them. All of them.
Every place. You can subscribe to me at Pottery Barn, pretty much anywhere you want.
I will do that. I'm going to go down to Pottery Barn right after this.
Subscribe to me.
But let's jump into this episode, which we came off of last week. So, like, in case you don't remember exactly where we were, we ended last week on the benefit where Vanessa and some other party guests found some not so special or not so good stuff in their drinks.
Yeah.
Well, that's what they get for drinking Bellinis.
Yeah.
Hey, I like balloons.
It kind of pretty much started where it left off, where, Fisk is bringing Vanessa in. It's like, I need a doctor. And they have like a specialist doctor coming in. And it's kind of, this is kind of going with the entire theme that this episode kind of has, where like the world is kind of falling apart for Fisk right now.
Yeah.
Like all of his support systems are being taken out.
Well, it's interesting because we saw that sort of happen with Matt at the same time.
Yeah.
Like he lost Foggy, he's losing Karen.
Yeah.
Claire's like
leaving
maybe. Sort of. We'll get into that, but for Fisk, like Fisk is dealing with some tough decisions right now. He's got Vanessa lied up in the hospital. She's the only one of the 4 people who drank the poisoned Bellinis. She's the only one that's still alive.
Yeah. And I'm still going with it's Leland who did it. I think Leland poisoned them so much.
Leland is behaving very suspiciously.
He was like, should I be checked out?
Yeah, the entire time
pointing back to himself.
The entire time in the hospital, he's like, I held a glass. Should I have a nurse or someone? Like, I held a glass.
Take it easy on me. I was almost poisoned. Just shut your dirty mouth. I was reading some. I know it's probably not Wesley, especially now we'll never know. But I was reading some just reviews last week. There were some other people who thought it could have been Wesley too.
Well, it's funny you say that because halfway through this episode, I was starting on that same track. I'm like, when he started like going around with the phone, I'm gonna leave. I'm like, did Wesley do it?
I know.
No.
I know. I don't think it is, but it's plausible.
No, I'm Fiskally all the way. I think those two guys are so tight. Like, I think Wesley...
What if they're so tight Wesley wanted her out of the picture?
No, I think Wesley's the one who brought Vanessa to Fisk when Fisk was questioning himself with Madame Gao. I think Wesley is so freaking loyal.
Yeah, it's probably not Wesley.
He is. Yeah, I don't think it's
probably not Wesley.
Well, but see, here's the thing. He's always looking out for what's best for Fisk.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm gonna do anything for this man. He's the most loyal.
Yeah.
if he thinks that Vanessa has become a liability for him, has become something that is going to cause him problems in the future, that's sort of the train of thought that I thought of, that he might have done it. He might have gone out of his way to, well, he's not going to fall out of love with this girl. Let's face it, he hasn't been really with that many people. But
that we know of.
We can kill her, and that solves it all. He can still love her and run this crime family.
Yeah, but even like when Fisk is like, Vanessa was poisoned because she was close to me. She's a target as long as like he's having the same speech that like we've seen every superhero have, which is like, I can't have personal relationships because they are targets. And, like, if I want to become the person that I'm supposed to, then I have to sever all personal relations. And so he's like, when she gets out of this, you give her, like, some money and you get her out of here. Get her away from me. And, like, Wesley, like, fights it. He's like, are you sure? Like, all that kind of stuff. So I think Wesley did not target Vanessa.
Yeah. I'm just saying that I don't think it's Wesley, but he's smart enough that if he did...
Yes.
He would have pulled that same kind of... We saw how cunning he had. Like, you really think I put a loaded gun on the table? Like, we saw how manipulative Wesley can be, and he wouldn't be that character. Like, that he couldn't play that role of Fisk's right-hand man and kind of man-sitter if he wasn't that manipulative. Yeah. So I think you're right. I think for sure it was either Gow and Owsley or just Owsley. But if it was Wesley, I wouldn't be surprised.
All right, that's fair. It's an interesting point. I mean, Fisk at this point is sort of, he's locked into that one thing. Like so in this story, like he's very much there. But Jesse, I really like your point about him like behaving like a way we know a superhero, because that's sort of what's been the strongest point about his character, is that he's the hero of his story. Yeah. And that's the classic line that you always hear, the best villains are the heroes of their own story. And Fisk takes that point to another level.
I mean, he basically has like a superhero origin story. It's just slightly skewed to where he murdered his dad with a claw hammer instead of like someone murdering his parents and him like being like, I'll never let that happen again, and then he goes to Asia to train and like comes back and he's wealthy and he's like, I've come back to my city and I'm gonna change it. Like, that's a superhero story.
Well, yeah, if he kicks his dad away and puts a stop to him with some superpowers he found on the street, you're right, that's a superhero story instead of a supervillain. It's a flawed hero versus a partially righteous villain.
I mean, it's basically like what happened with Tony Stark. It's what like happened with a little bit what happened with Moon Knight. It's like all of these heroes have very similar stories where it's like, if you're the parent of a hero, you're probably not going to live very long. And then like they go away and they train and they come back and usually they're wealthy for some reason, and like they come in to change their city. And like Fisk is like so close to being a hero, but it's skewed ever so slightly that he's also destroying the city that he wants to protect.
I don't think it's skewed that slightly. I think that, I mean, yes, definitely. I think it's so cool that Netflix gave us a villain that we're getting a backstory on, because I feel like we're lacking that in a lot of superhero movies. Yeah. And it definitely makes you feel for Fisk. Like this episode, I didn't want to because I think he's a douchebag, but the whole episode I was like, oh man, Vanessa, just come on, dude, make Fisk smile again. Like, even though I didn't want to say that, but Fisk has made it like poignant over and over and over again that like whatever Daredevil is, he's the opposite. Like even when he was sitting by her bedside and I don't know what God is and I don't know how to pray, but it's just like completely he's the juxtaposition of Daredevil. And I think it's, I mean, I don't know, I don't think that, I was thinking about this also when the episode was going on. Like, his dad died by the hands of the city, right? He ran for mayor, and then he didn't die by technically he died by his son, but his demise was within the city. Yes. And so I was just looking for parallels there. Like, yes, he might think he's making the city a better place, but in fact, he's probably doing what his dad would have done to make the city a better place. Yeah. I don't know. He's just like the ultimate villain in my head. I don't see any kind of I don't see anything redeeming in his character.
Oh, I don't either. But what I'm saying that he's close to a hero, I mean, his story is so close to a hero story, and that slight skew is that he is willing to sacrifice as much and whoever he can in order to get what he wants.
True.
And that's what makes him different, is that a hero sacrifices themselves. And that's what we talk about in this, about martyrs ending up bloodied and alone. And Fisk isn't a martyr. He's not going to sacrifice himself. He's not going to sacrifice his ideals. He's going to force them upon the city, where Matt is sacrificing himself for the city.
Absolutely.
And I think that's a huge difference.
Yeah, it's a thin line, but it's easy to see where
deep.
these two fall. Yeah. But that slight difference on which side of the line these two characters fall.
Yeah.
Because I think these two, more than almost any other hero-villain pairing that we've seen, definitely in the MCU.
Yeah.
They're so close to that line, both of them, that like one kick in the other direction at any point in their lives may have like made them cross to the other side.
Well, even in the series, we see Murdoch, struggling with whether or not he's going to kill or become that thing that's willing to cross that line. I mean, he's close to crossing over that line.
Yeah.
To kill for what he believes in instead of finding a better way. And so I think we're seeing and I think there are parts where Fisk legitimately is trying to become a better person, and he just doesn't know how to. And like I think there in previous episodes, where he asks if he's a good man to Vanessa, like all of that kind of stuff. I think Fisk is also dealing with similar stuff where they're thinking about going over to the other line, but they never do because Mrs. Cardenas is dead, and they're already destroying that tenement. So,
yeah. I mean, it's rough. I look at their fathers.
Yeah.
If Jack Murdoch was a fighter.
Yeah.
He fought people for a job.
Yeah.
But he preached nonviolence to his kids. So even though Matt grew up to be a fighter, he doesn't want the violence. He sees it as a necessary evil. Whereas Fisk grew up with a father who, you can say quote unquote professional, but like he was a politician or an attempted politician. He wanted who's theoretically doing things the right way, like it's corrupt but not physically violent way.
Yeah.
But he ended up preaching violence.
Yeah. Totally.
Through his actions.
Yeah.
And so those were the paths that the two of them wound up going down, just because of the slight difference in the way that their fathers treated the idea of violence.
100%.
Yeah.
But so I wanted to give a shout out to where did it go? Antoine in the chat, he was saying that Vanessa and Fisk may be the best love story in the MCU.
I think, yeah.
Also the shortest.
Well, she's not dead yet.
She's still kicking.
You're right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of yeah.
See,
yeah, and and as Antoine said, they gave it to a villain.
Yeah. They do really love each other, and I think that's really interesting, and that's the only redeeming thing about Fisk is how much he cares about her, and how much he's broken, he's a broken man next to her on the bedside table, he's yeah, I can't think of another MCU love story that is better than this.
Well, I could maybe argue Cap and Peggy, but there's a tragic love story.
And there's this very brief.
Yes. But you're right. But yeah, there are other good love stories.
Yeah.
I mean, we all like Tony and Pepper together.
See, that was kind of where I think that's a clever love story, not really a great love story.
Yeah, but this is there's darkness. This feels more like
an epic.
This is a love epic. This is a titan falling for
nymph.
Small a nymph.
Yeah. I don't know if we're going Greek.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think Vanessa's a lot is his sin eater. She will take all of that darkness that he has and she tries to turn it into light. And I think
that's a great point.
And I think that's kind of why he needs her, is because, like, as long as she's around, he feels like he's doing the right thing, even if he's not. It's like what he uses her for, or what he needs her for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think as opposed to like where he says it was an imitation of faith.
Yeah.
This is like what the image that he gives to her of himself is the truest version of himself.
Yeah.
Everyone else, it's a front. It's I'm the most powerful person that you can be. When he bursts in at the beginning, don't you know who I am? It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And you see like the defeated look on his face. That's when I was like, I didn't want to, but I was like, oh, poor Nugget.
I mean, it's tough.
Yeah.
There was a great moment of vulnerability he had with Wesley, where it was like, after Wesley was like taking care of stuff, and he was just like, Wesley, thank you.
Yeah.
And then like walked away, and it was like, oh, he was gonna say I love you.
Which, like, but he did. He didn't need to. He didn't need to say it.
That might
they had an unspoken bond.
Wesley and Fisk might be the best love story in the MCU.
I'm gonna agree with you. I think it's better than his and Vanessa's.
I mean, I'll be honest. There was a point in this episode, like looking at the way Wesley's like dealing with him, like, and I say this in like just like I'm not trying to disparage the character in any way, but like, is Wesley gay?
I don't know.
Like it felt like it feels like there's more to his relationship with Fisk. Not like they're doing anything behind the scenes,
totally.
but that he has this. He loves Fisk.
Yeah.
Whether that's heterosexual love or a more.
I mean, either way, it doesn't matter. But there is that love. You're totally right, where it's almost romantic.
Yeah.
And like that's why when it first happened, I could see why. I mean, like if he was okay, and I want to know their backstory. I think that's one thing we're missing in the flashbacks is like, how did Wilson and Wesley meet?
Yeah.
Seriously, like how did somebody become so devoted? Like they must have met a long time ago.
Tinder?
Oh goodness, but seriously,
Tinder?
I totally
Tinder?
completely agree with you.
It's like from Venture Brothers.
I know.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's Wesley is definitely at.
Somebody just said Whisk versus Moggy, and it made me giggle really hard. Oh,
Whisk
my gosh.
versus
Jalen
Moggy.
Jackson
I'm gonna let
killing it
you
in the
all
chat.
fill in the blanks
What
there.
a great double date that is.
That would be the cutest double date ever.
They just started like fighting, like subtly fighting all the time. Like
my
I could skate around this rink faster than you can.
Totally.
an ice skating rink.
Oh my god.
I don't know.
That's awesome.
I was actually picturing a roller skating rink for some reason. Don't ask why.
It's okay.
We also actually got some like important Matt Murdoch character development in church. Like other than just like upgrade stuff, like his whole thing in church where it's like maybe that God allowed the devil to fall so that it could be a lesson to everyone else. And like that's basically what like the whole Batman being like fear and everything like that. That's what the Daredevil is. Like he is the devil of Hell's Kitchen. He's a lesson to all of the villains in Hell's Kitchen. Like you will get beat up by my sticks if you do any villainy in Hell's Kitchen. And so I thought that was a really interesting like moment where Matt like kind of is inspired to be good.
Yeah.
And his theology really isn't that off. Like a lot of the things that he's saying, I really appreciate how true to the religion they're being, because they're using it in a way that's like, I don't know. I think it's definitely a subplot of the entire show. Like you hear almost every single character talking about God or talking about the Catholic religion, and I think that the way they're using it is really, really creative. And also, I would like to say the priest knew who he was. All you guys said I was silly for thinking he knew. He totally knew exactly who Daredevil. He was like, "Do you know who I am?" And he was talking about like, "Yeah, I know I have a good idea of who you are. Like
gotcha.
I'm not."
Yeah,
that's so cool.
No, I loved all the stuff with the priest. I think what this episode, they did it really subtly to a point where you almost don't notice. But this episode, I think, more than even the 10 episodes that we've seen combined, this was the beginnings of Daredevil. Like, not just the beginnings of Matt Murdoch fighting crime. This is like, where Daredevil begins to be formed. We see it even with Claire when they're just having that conversation. Like, that moment where they're talking I think that's a formative moment for Matt Murdoch, for Daredevil, because she says, this is you're the man this city created.
Yeah.
Like we're all. I mean, as that whole conversation is going, all I hear is the Dark Knight.
Yeah, sure,
like
the hero the city deserves.
yeah, it's like, and I think they have to know that that's what their audience hears, but then spinning it on its head, or turning it on its head rather, the man this city created is a great quote, because it's true. Like, he wouldn't have been this if Hell's Kitchen hadn't been in terrible disrepair and falling apart his whole life.
Yeah. Well, and also he had that quote where he's like, how do you know that angels and demons aren't the same thing? And I think that's another kind of like big kind of thing where it's like, you know, he's doing good by being a bad guy, like beating people up, basically.
It's like Wreck-It Ralph. Like, I'm bad, and that's good.
I'm gonna wreck it.
And then he beats up.
Yeah, he's gonna throw
Random
dudes.
guy.
He's gonna throw dudes off roofs. But overall, he's a good guy. He's doing it for good reasons. He's a vigilante.
Yeah, I mean, it's everything that he deals with at this point is what Daredevil becomes. Like, he's dealing with Karen and Foggy, like Foggy finding out who he is and like having to come to terms with that. Karen like being blocked in terms of knowing who he is.
Oh, there was a close Daredevil moment though when she held his jaw. I was like, oh, Daredevil. that was a really sweet moment. And Daredevil's dead. It's gone.
Is it?
Yeah, I think she's gone. Claire's gone.
But they're always going to have that. I think Claire, I'm so glad that we got to see her in this episode, because I feel like we've needed this closure with Claire. And I feel like she's also a character that that Marvel can kind of put throughout, like Speckle in different shows, you know what I mean? And so this might have just been her cameo in Daredevil, and we're probably going to see her again, but I think it's awesome that we know that, hey, look, I'm always going to be there for you, but like she's strong enough to be like, she's not like a damsel in distress. She doesn't sit there like, oh, but please don't go fight and just be with me. She's like, do what you got to do, but I'm out, you know?
I mean, that would be great. I mean, Night Nurse in the books is, she just like basically helps out all superheroes.
See, I think that's probably, it would make the most sense to do that with her character.
Like Jessica Jones needs a night nurse, and like Iron Fist does. Like that would probably
and she's funny, and she's a great character.
It would also be a great way to just kind of combine all the stories, like with at least like just to know her through line,
a small thread.
Totally.
I mean, it would be fascinating to see. Well, it makes sense. I didn't pick it up, but I did see that Marvel published some sort of Night Nurse compilation recently. Like they republished like a bunch of packaged Night Nurse stories.
Oh, that's cool.
Like just it was on the rack the other day. I was like, oh, Night Nurse. I bet that's going to be important. Because that's the trend. If you see stuff happening, like if you see characters starting to get solo books in the comics, like they're probably going to be important in the MCU soon.
Way to go, PR and marketing for Marvel.
You were talking about a damsel in distress, like not to put the cart before the horse, but I was so glad that Karen didn't end up being a damsel in distress at the end of this episode.
I thought she was going to.
Man.
I thought it was going to be like, oh, Kingpin's got her, and that's going to really have to inspire Daredevil to go and fight and get her. I was like, no, she took care of herself, dude.
See, I know, but she's been so... Karen, I've had such conflicted feelings about Karen as, like, one of the female leads in this, because I've been reading about her in the comic books, and she's not the same character that Netflix is making her out to be, and I was kind of disappointed. I was like, look, the Karen that I'm reading is like kind of badass and dark and mysterious, and like you see more of her past. This one is going around like, and I don't know if her naivety is like a plan, you know what I mean? Like if she's being manipulative by pretending like she doesn't know a lot or doesn't care a lot. But the things that she's saying, even when she keeps bringing up his mother, it's like everybody has told you that's not enough. And you keep going to each different person. And like she had that stereotypical phone call with Ben, and I was like, oh, she's about to get kidnapped. She got kidnapped, and then I'm like, hell yeah, this is the Karen I've been looking for.
She
killed it.
Well, that's the thing. I think that the kind of defining feature of Karen in this series is like she's a pit bull. Like she will not let go of like making sure Fisk loses. Like she even says to Ben, like he's gonna win, and Ben's like, there are no winners and losers in this. And it's like she can't let go of the fact that there is wrong being done and no one's doing anything about it, and she just won't give up ever. Like she's not giving up. She says the same thing to 3 people, and because she wants to hear a different answer, and it's not gonna happen. Like she just will not give up.
See, and like that, I was missing that pit bull from her. I was thinking she's like a little kid, just repeating the same thing over and over, like looking like, can you do something for it? Can you do something for this? Look, this is what I'm giving you. Can you help me? And then at the end, I was like, there's the aggression, and like, you know what I mean? We needed that little dark part of Karen, because she says things, she like mumbles things every once in a while that are just super inappropriate, and I laugh at that, and I'm like, okay. But at the end of this episode, it was...
Well, we get a reminder in this episode that she's new to this city. And so, like, in a way, she's looking for help because she doesn't have any power. And not because, like, she's a woman or anything like that. Like, just, this is about the little person. The little guy who just can't make a difference because nobody's willing to listen.
True.
And that's what Ben sort of tells her about. Like, look, you could bring that up. You could tell the world that he killed his dad. You could have proof that he did it, and it won't matter. You are too unimportant to the world for people to listen to you.
He's got a bigger voice.
And like, I want to know what Karen's really fighting for, because we heard in that last scene, he asked her point blank, like, do you love the city? And she's like, I haven't been here long enough. So I want to know more about her. I think I'm missing that backstory on Karen, that, like, she's maybe been pushed down so many times she just wants a win. Or, you know what I mean? Like, I don't see what's motivating her.
Well, what she keeps saying is that she doesn't want another person to die on her behalf. Like, she feels responsible for a death, and now 2, because she capped Wesley. but and I think she doesn't, I mean, even when she's talking to Matt, and she thinks Matt got beat up by Fisk because they've been looking into him, not because because Matt's the masked Avenger or whatever. Like she thinks that Matt got beat up because of her. Like, she doesn't want any more people to suffer because of her interaction and that kind of stuff, and she wants Fisk to go down for what he's done.
100%.
She just like Matt, she wants justice. But she's just doing it not in the daylight because she's still like doing it on the sly, but she's just not gonna beat people up.
Well, she's not a blind. Well, I was talking with someone who was like, well, Karen's a killer, like she crossed that line, but she also doesn't have the ability that Matt does. Like Matt has the choice of whether or not to kill someone. Like, Karen didn't have that choice.
She's a victim and a crusader. It was
self-defense. Like, it was... Like, she didn't have an option to not kill Wesley. Like, there was 2 options. Either she gets killed or Wesley gets killed. Like, Matt has the option of not killing people or killing people.
He doesn't have to go out at night hunting people down.
Yeah, exactly.
But he chooses to.
You just put them in traction.
I think because, like Karen, he sort of found himself without options. And so, like, she's reaching that point now where she doesn't have any options. Matt has been there for a while where he's realized, like, there aren't other options than just, you got to do it yourself. DIY. DIY crime stopping.
Get out that duct tape.
But yeah, and so while we're talking about Karen, let's deal with the end. I mean, Wesley like gets a call from Mrs. Vastane, and immediately knows who they're talking about. And he doesn't go for the obvious. Like, we thought, like, oh, he'll just take her out. I assumed, I was like, they're gonna kill Karen. It's gonna be devastating. But no, he like wants to. Wesley's playing it smart. He knows killing her will only add fuel to this fire. Whoever she's working with, whoever she's told, if she turns up dead, Ben Urick is going to go on a rampage of journalism.
Well, I thought it was kind of like a counter hacker like strategy where it's like, you know, big companies will hire the best computer hackers to try and hack their computers so that they can learn like where all the holes in their defense are. And so like by using Karen, who's someone who has just been pushing and pushing to find information about Fisk, like they can then use her to help inspire other people to like Fisk instead of hate Fisk, which is what she's been doing for the last 9 episodes.
Yeah.
And how cool was Ben's last line on the phone? Or not, maybe it wasn't his last, but that's usually right around the time the story gets interesting.
Yeah.
When she was talking and I was like, oh, something's about to go down.
Yeah.
Usually Ben says something cool like that when something happens. But definitely.
Yeah. But so at this point, Wesley, like, of course, she's not going to agree to it.
Yeah.
So he takes out a gun and puts it on the table.
And it answered the question we all think whenever that happens in movies, where it's like, he's going to shoot you anyway. You might as well lunge for the gun. Like, why does no one ever lunge for the gun? And she did.
Yeah.
Yeah, her instincts are pretty on point.
Yeah.
And you can see in that moment, you could like, great performance, because you can see Wesley's like wheels spinning.
Yeah.
He's like, you really think
Like-
that I put bullets in there?
Because he has just enough of a pause before he says that like we can tell he's lying, and
Totally.
she can tell he's lying. There's like just enough doubt that as an audience we're like, I wonder. But she's
I
got
know.
nothing to lose. Like if she
Yeah.
pulls the trigger and it's empty,
Sucks.
yeah.
Exactly.
She's in the same place she was a second ago.
I thought it
Except
was.
now there's no gun. Hit him with the gun.
Yeah.
I thought like the coolest part of that scene was her like coming back so quickly saying, "You think I've never shot anybody before?" And I was
Yeah.
like, "Damn! Like we're about to learn who Karen Page is."
Yeah, that's some dark backstory.
You go learn today who
Yeah.
Karen Page is.
I
wanna
mean,
know.
that's a scary thought, though. Like, or not scary, but like very interesting. Like thought. Like, what is the scary past that Karen has lived?
Yeah.
We know from the books, she's dealt with a lot of drugs and
Yeah.
like.
porn, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like there's different storylines. Like there's one storyline where I think she had AIDS for a little while.
She definitely had AIDS for a while.
I think that was the Kevin Smith run.
Was she cured from AIDS?
I think like they just
In the
forgot
MCU,
They just.
you can be cured of AIDS.
I think that
I mean,
you
with
know,
elixir running around, pretty much any disease can be.
I can't remember exactly when, but that storyline had a lot of magical stuff
Yeah.
going on. So I think there was a little bit of that at play, where like they were
Totally.
undoing events of the past with whatever
Got it.
Yeah.
Catholic magic was happening.
Good for Karen, man.
Catholic Magic is a great band name.
I concur with that statement.
Thanks. We are Catholic Magic and we're here to rock you.
I can't decide if that's like a Satanist band or a Christian rock band.
I think
Could go either way.
I think it's like a punk band.
Anyway,
Yeah.
but so she has a gun and she shoots him.
Yeah.
And at first she sort of misses the heart, catches him in the
Shoulder.
upper shoulder.
Yeah.
Like I think it was even the right shoulder.
He was so surprised. He was like,
Yeah, he was
are you
genuinely
doing?
shocked.
yeah.
He's like, what?
And then she shot him 5 more times.
Oh, maybe Wesley
so
doesn't
gnarly.
know how guns work, so he thought it wasn't loaded. Like, that
I mean-
wasn't a bluff. He legitimately was like, you think I left a loaded gun in there? And he just, like, didn't know how guns worked.
I think he was just being smart. Like
I know,
he's like,
yeah.
I can convince you to put the gun down.
Or he thought he could.
Yeah.
Or at least make her like check the clip and buy a second to like
She was like, nope. Just straight right there.
yeah, and she
Smokes.
very smartly just like she wipes the table clean,
Yeah.
grabs the gun, and
Take
it's
that
like,
murder weapon with you.
yeah, I'm getting out of here.
I thought it was
in the
cool how
East
she
River.
wasn't calm either. Because, like, nobody would be calm after shooting a gun. Like, I thought after she shot him, if they were going to play the whole, she's like coy, like, I'm going to wipe the table, I'm going to wipe the gun, I'm going to take the body with me. She's like, nope, I'm out. I got to
Lights
wipe
a match.
this. I'm going. Yeah, exactly.
Walks away, explosion.
And
Thought
we
it was
also get
perfect.
introduced to Francis, who's just, like, going to step in as Wesley, apparently. Francis is the guy that Wesley's like,
Didn't somebody say they thought Francis was going to be Frank?
oh, maybe.
Was that...
Frank.
That must have been Mark. They thought... It was like a long shot. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm not... Do you know who I'm talking about?
Frank Castle?
I don't know. He was a superhero.
Yeah, that, I mean, if
that'd
if Mark Donaga's talking about a Frank
Yeah.
superhero, it's
the
Frank
Punisher,
Castle.
Yeah.
Oh, the Punisher. Yes.
Yeah, but Francis kind of steps in and is just like, get him a coffee. And it's like, what else can I get for you, Mr. Fisk? And it's like, you just replaced Wesley in a second.
But see, I feel like
and
this
that-
is where I kind of felt so bad for Fisk, though, because seriously, he's
Everyone's
like
gone.
a man babysitter, right? So Wesley, like, whenever Fisk throws a tantrum, Wesley goes and gets him his toy to play with, like Vanessa, like, here you go, like, it's okay, it's gonna be okay. And now Fisk has, like, lost the love of his life and possibly the other friend crush love of his life.
He lost his best friend and his girlfriend in one day.
And his business partners are kind of talking behind his back and poisoning him.
Potentially trying to kill him or his girlfriend.
It's going down.
Well, that was an interesting thing where Leland and Wesley were talking, and Leland was like, well, what if it was Nobu, what would happen? He was like, well, what if it was Madame Gao? And he's like, well, it was nice knowing you.
Yeah.
Like, basically, we're all dead then.
Yeah, Wesley was a smart character. I'm going to miss the way that he worked things.
Yeah, he was an interesting, like exposition character that, like, helped move the story along.
Yeah. And just, you can feel, like, I'm really looking forward to what Fisk is how he's going to react when they eventually find Wesley. Like, Wesley's, like, been a big part of him, and Vanessa are what's holding him together. Like, we know he's sort of a loose cannon. Like, he has that on the spectrum thing going on. Like, how is he going to react? Like, just from a physical standpoint, will he be able to even communicate? Will he have, like, a mental breakdown?
I think the next two episodes... I mean, I think next episode, Fisk kills someone.
I see him turning into Kingpin.
I think
completely.
Yeah. I think next episode, the Fisk kills someone. Like, even if it's just, like, someone who, like, steps on his shoe or something like that.
He's off the edge.
He's had all of his support taken away from him. He is still thinks he's this man doing the right thing for his city, and yet the people are turning on him.
Yeah.
Like, he's losing everything that he had going for him. He's now a desperate man. And, like, I think Fisk is going to just lose it. I think he's going to go on a murder spree.
In chat, Charlie just said, removing Wesley is kind of like when a hero loses their mentor. Like, we see a hero become a superhero as soon as, like...
Oh, like a hero's journey, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's a great point,
Yeah,
Charlie.
that's a really good point.
Yeah, I mean, just like, because it's a flip, it's the villain, like, where it wasn't a mentor, it was sort of his underling who still was, even though he was his, like, not servant, but like the help in a way, was keeping him together, moving him forward 100%. On his path.
So Wesley was Fisk's Obi-Wan Kenobi.
If we're gonna go there,
in a way, in a weird way,
if we're gonna go there,
yes,
it's pretty true. Because Fisk would, there's no doubt in my mind, Fisk would do anything to avenge Wesley or do anything for Wesley when he was alive.
Yeah.
If Wesley asked for something, it would have been like a snap of the finger. But Wesley, like, that wasn't his role. His role was just to provide.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that. What if it wasn't Wesley who did the Bellini poisoning, and now they pin it on Wesley because he's dead and he's, like, an easy person to pin it on?
That's interesting.
That would totally bum me out for Wesley.
Yeah.
I don't know. That was just what I thought.
That'd be
maybe.
an easy way to pin it, though.
I mean, the question is who they're going to blame. Like, assuming Karen didn't leave any long blonde hairs behind at the crime scene.
They could blame the same person.
I don't think they would blame it on Matt or, like, on the man in the mask, because guns are not his style. They know that.
Yeah.
And I think Wilson is smarter than that than to think that it would be him.
But Wilson would, I mean, logically think it's the same person that tried to poison Vanessa. Yeah.
That's true.
Like, someone tried to kill the person close to me. They also tried to kill the other person that's next close to me. So he's even further, like, being paranoid.
Yeah, you're right. It could totally go that way too.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good point. But so let's jump back over to Matt Murdoch's story.
Double M's.
Because one of the things that comes up in the conversation with Claire, other than the whole martyrs, saints, and all that, which is very deep and meaningful, but the more just fun stuff that she brings up, you should really get some, like, armor.
Yeah.
Or if you're going to keep doing this. We're like, get some armor.
Get some armor. Come on.
With little points on it.
Come on.
And, well, you know what? Before we get into Mr. Potter's storyline,
Sure.
I want to talk to you guys about something really cool. Before we get into iTunes, we have an announcement.
What?
Yeah.
What's the announcement?
But here to tell you about that announcement is...
Just wait for it, people.
Guys,
It's
Zach
gonna be
Wilson
crazy.
left. Zach left.
Hold on really quick. Zach, where'd you go? Oh, there's a
walked
knock
out
at the
the
door.
door.
Do you hear that knock at the door?
I don't.
Come
but
on
that's
in.
because I don't have enhanced
You can
senses.
come on
Oh,
in.
now I heard it.
Oh,
Now it sounds
here
like
he comes,
Velcro.
walking over. You guys get ready for this. It's
Okay.
gonna be crazy. And he's sitting down.
Can we talk about how funny that Claire thing was when she was like, "I got to
And
see
he's-
her shirt off again"?
Well, let's ask the man in the mask right now if he can
All
take
right,
that shirt
guys.
off for
What?
us.
That's right. Daredevil came to tell you all about
Guys,
a little
surprise
contest.
guest. Surprise guest.
Why'd you put on Zach's clothes?
It's a disguise.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Jesse. It's a disguise, Jesse. I suppose I should talk like that.
Daredevil knows my name.
But a contest that we're going to have here,
Yeah.
we hinted at it last week, and it's going to be to win a Daredevil flask.
What? What's that look like?
Like this.
I don't know. I can't see whatever it is,
I think-
but
You
it's
see the world
probably
on
pretty
fire,
cool.
okay?
I
You
think
see the
this
world
is
on
not-
fire.
I think this is not the finished product of the flask. It's like part of the making of it.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's really sick.
Either way, it's going to be really awesome, and you can win it
Yeah.
here on the Daredevil podcast, Daredevil After Show here at AfterBuzz TV, by doing one simple thing.
Two things.
Two simple things.
Yeah.
First of all, make sure you're following all of us here on Twitter and AfterBuzz TV. The three of us plus Mark Donegal, who unfortunately couldn't join us tonight.
At Soapbox Mark.
Yes, at Soapbox Mark. And then go onto iTunes and hit us with a review. And in that review, we want to know your rule for a Daredevil drinking game.
Yay! We'll play next episode. Well, the season finale we'll play.
No. But so the funniest rule that we hear. All right, Daredevil's going away.
Oh,
Later.
bye, Daredevil.
Bye-bye.
Because I gotta have shout outs in a
Yeah,
second.
sure.
And I am.
No, you don't have to explain yourself.
It's okay. Bye, Daredevil.
But yeah, so if you go onto iTunes, hit us with your best drinking game rule.
Yeah.
The one we think is either the one that will get us the drunkest or just the funniest.
Yeah.
We will pick a winner.
Like examples, like every time Wilson Fisk says, take a shot. You know what I mean? Like just like silly things you see throughout the show or whatever you think is creative.
And bonus points from me. You get special Jesse bonus points if it has a funny name.
Name your rule.
I just want to hear a funny name. Three Blind Mice is the name of a drinking game already, so you can't use it.
Very cool. But yeah, that could be awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
some iTunes.
yeah, I want to. Well, these people, you guys can still write a new review and be eligible for the contest. So thank you to everybody who's written a review so far. 46 ratings for the brand new show. That's
thanks,
great, you
guys.
guys.
Yeah.
But so I want to give a shout out to Gibson House, who says Excelsior. I wanted to give this show 1 star per eye injury, but I can only give 5 stars. Thank you for giving me more opportunities to entertain my inner fanboy after all my regular season shows have wrapped for the summer. Drew Lafferty says great review. Found this after watching all of it. Now going back through again with the podcast. Great and fun discussion.
That sounds fun.
Jose T90N says amazing. Love the discussions every week. Since I drive a lot because work, I download the episode and hear them throughout my day. Thanks for the great work.
Oh, thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you for listening.
Yeah, thank you guys so much.
You guys are the best. We at AfterBuzz TV have the best fans.
We do.
And I like that everybody's giving me or giving Daredevil crap for sounding like me.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
that guy's great. I love him. But
it's actually canon that Daredevil can mimic voices because of his super hearing, so it's okay. He just mimicked Zach's voice really well.
Guys, we're already getting rules coming in, and these are so creative. Please keep going. But like, drink every time Foggy narrates a person's gestures for Matt. That's awesome throughout
a
the
good
season.
one.
That's really cool.
make sure you put them on
Write that in
iTunes, guys.
Put 'em
Those are
on
the only
iTunes.
ones that count as entries.
Yeah, these are
Hilarious.
eligible.
Hilarious.
But anyway, let's Daredevil. What Daredevil also did very well when he came in here a second ago was mimic a costume.
Yeah.
To appear like me. Apparently, he probably went to Mr. Melvin Potter.
Oh, aka the Gladiator.
This whole, and I know you guys know all the backstory to it. I don't.
Yeah.
So like, looking from somebody who has no freaking clue who the Gladiator is, like I didn't even Google it because I want to be surprised within the series. I felt so hard for his character. The one thing I saw though is that in the comics, and please correct me if I'm wrong, he's not slow, and he doesn't have any kind of personality disorder.
He's not like that, but he has a caregiver, and that's the woman that he's talking about. It's a reference
Betsy,
to her.
right?
Yeah, Betsy is a reference to her. He's not. He is like a genius that has like issues, but it's not like it is in the show.
Got it. I don't know. I thought that it was really interesting the way they did that, and they made me totally feel for his character. I'm like, oh, I want to punch Fisk in the face right now.
Yeah.
So hard.
It was actually a really good depiction of someone who had brain damage. My old job, I worked with a lot of people and developed jobs for people who had traumatic brain injury, and like the way he stuttered and like the way he kind of struggled with speech and stuff like that was a really good depiction of it.
Got it. So it's not a developmental disorder. It's something he was in an accident or something.
It's what it seemed like to me. Yeah.
Got it.
And that actually stands to reason. It would explain why he's such a good fighter, which I thought was like the one thing. Like, I love the idea of like, because it's a semi like there's almost like autistic savant thing happening with the armor, where he's like just like
so good.
Knows how to make ridiculous armors for some reason, but like can't like pick up a pen. And that's sort of where he is, but I like it better that it's a brain injury because it explains the fighting. Because the fighting thing doesn't quite go along with
exactly. that. And he's real good at fighting. Like he just beats up on Daredevil for a while, who's injured. Like,
in fairness,
it's post Ninja Daredevil.
Matt's been through the ringer recently, and he just fought.
What's his name? The gun guy.
Yeah. I don't have his name in front of me. Turk.
Turk. Yeah, Turk.
Recurring thug.
Recurring thug Turk. Don't reach for the knife in your boot. Don't reach for your backup piece
like, we good.
behind your belt. Like, okay.
We good, man. We good.
But yeah, I really like that entire scene. Like, just seeing that fight scene was really cool because it was like, this is someone who's kind of going blow for blow with Matt. And I mean, that's kind of the character in the comics is also like a guy who can just fight Matt pretty much blow for blow, and he uses saw blades quite a bit. So it was really cool to see him fling the blade at Matt, and Matt just be like, ugh.
Did that guy just throw a saw at me?
Yeah, exactly.
And we saw it again. The stilt man's
Stiltman stilts. I just want that to be in the background. Someone just get hit by a car with stilts on. Just.
I mean, maybe in like some like twisty Civil War insanity, we'll get Stiltman like running around.
I think a Stiltman died in Civil War, so that could happen.
Oh my god! But yeah, so they have it out, and then it's he talks about his caregiver Betsy and how Fisk is threatening her if he doesn't keep making armor, and that's when Matt asks him for a suit of armor of his own.
Yeah, I want to stop Fisk from hurting people like Betsy. It's like,
pulling the heartstrings.
I know.
Make me an awesome suit.
Something special.
And make sure it's got a little holder for my sticks.
Yeah. But I thought it was interesting that he's like, I need you to make me a symbol.
Yeah.
Because I think that again,
this is about with the priest.
Yeah, this is like what I was saying before about this episode really being not just a Matt Murdoch origin story, but this is the Daredevil origins. This is where Daredevil came from.
Yeah.
This is where the Man in the Mask became Daredevil because like he's decided like he needs to be a symbol, and after like having a nice chat with his local priest, he decided that it must be the devil.
Yeah.
So we know it's coming thanks to Netflix showing us what the suit looks like as soon as you click on the series.
Yeah.
But we'll save that conversation for another day. What else is going on in this episode? Foggy and Ben are up to some stuff. Foggy's just sort of drunk. Foggy hooked up with his ex-girlfriend.
Oh yeah, that's right.
She was kind of funny. I'm gonna be real. Like, she plays her character so well. Like, I know you and Matt have been friends for. Actually, I just don't care. I'm gonna go. Just make sure you lock the door on the way out.
That's such an asshole thing to say. I'm so proud of you.
What did he expect? I don't know.
All he expected was to get get laid.
I don't know if you saw the set dressing, but they had glasses of wine, but there was also a corkscrew with the cork also on the night table, which means they brought the wine into the bedroom and opened it in the bedroom.
Foggy probably needed it.
like that's a power move. That's pretty pro.
I don't know. I could have gone without seeing Foggy this whole episode. I felt like Foggy. I was fine with Foggy being at rest for an episode, like processing silently.
I mean, I liked the scene with him and Karen. I think because Foggy is such a great character on this show. He's been so strong. I want to see his journey having to deal with this insane information that he just got.
Well, I think the thing with Karen, like what it mostly cemented, is that both Foggy and Matt are lying to her. And, like, I think that was her thing, is, like, she knows Matt's lying about what his injuries are, and now she knows Foggy is lying about it as well, so now she feels like the world is kind of against her.
Yeah.
Like, that kind of thing. Like, she's like, these are the people I trust the most, and even them, they are lying to me.
Yeah.
So, like, it kind of forced that call to Ben out of nowhere, the kind of stereotypical, like, just calling. Just calling in case I get kidnapped and then I have to shoot a guy.
Yeah, like, please remember that I'm a person.
Yeah, we totally saw Foggy's, like, demise, and, like, this is setting it up for the next episode of them kind of probably rekindling their friendship.
Yeah, I hope so.
You gotta take that sign out of the trash, get back up on the door.
Yeah.
But the other Ben Urick is also running around in this episode, and he gives some great advice to Karen. But then I thought it was at the end. I'm curious what you guys think is happening here, because he's looking at that old photo.
Yeah.
And he sees in the window the old "Vote for Bill Fisk" sign. What does he see? What does he see there?
I mean, I think what it was doing is just like, Ben talks a big game about, like, let it go, you're not going to win this, but I think, you know, he's still investigating and he's still searching. Like, he found Fisk's old apartment. So I think it was mostly like a setup for, like, Ben is not done chasing this lead, even though he's telling Karen to stop. Like, he's not, the old Salt reporter isn't done yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what do you think he's going to be able to build from... like, all he's got, basically, is that there's a sign in a window that says, "Vote for Bill Fisk."
Maybe his dad was up to some hinky stuff when he wanted to be in office. I mean,
we know he was trying to be... He aspired to be a corrupt politician.
100%. But, I mean, like, maybe he can pull from that. Honestly, like, at this point, I don't know what... Unless... Even if he can prove, like they said, even if he can prove that Fisk killed his dad, they need more. They need something more. So maybe it's something we haven't found out yet, hopefully. Maybe it's something he did as a child or as a teenager or his dad did.
I wonder if it's just as simple as, like, he knows when the photo was taken, and, like, that the sign being there will somehow let him connect some dots that, like, will poke just one hole in what Wilson's been saying publicly about his dad.
Totally.
Because people have to be asking or, like, digging into it when this guy just, like, this, like, rich, powerful man just appears out of the shadows. Like, any journalist worth their salt is going to, like, at least Google it.
Yeah. Google me.
And, like, Google his parents to see where he came from. And once they find that, like, his dad, like, disappeared... Like, that has to be a question mark. So Fisk must have covered it up in one way or another.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I mean, it at least gives them a timeline for the story that the mom has. Like, it helps them figure that out. But, I mean, they all have really... I mean, their whole thing is, like, Fisk was a little kid when he killed his dad. Like, if anything, it's like... It'll demonize the mom a little bit. But even that, like, he was beating her. Like, it's not a good get to get Wilson Fisk. Like, it's not like a thing. Like, all it will do is actually help lionize the public instead of, like, demonize him, you know?
It could poke a hole, like you were saying, Zach. It could poke a hole, just like if he can confirm that he killed his father as a boy, like, what else has he been lying about? So maybe even though you're totally right, Jesse, that he was a little kid and his dad was an asshole, it might make other people, like, pay attention. Maybe that's the whole get of it. Maybe it's just that simple.
Yeah, that's what Karen wants to do.
Yeah.
Like, she wants to, like, use this just to, like, get people asking questions, because nobody's questioning it right now. To them, he's a philanthropist.
Yeah. He's got so much media in his pockets that's like, what is this going to do?
You need someone to question who this guy is.
100%.
Yeah. That was the thing that Ben said that was kind of small but important, where, no one was reporting on people getting poisoned. Like, that wasn't a story, which means that he just has the entire media in his pocket and almost all the police, because they all have to know about this and no one's coming forward about it. So like that's kind of a huge kind of, like, even though Fisk is losing all of his support, he still has a stranglehold on the city.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that sort of wraps up the episode. Do you guys have any other thoughts on this one?
I mean, I thought this, again, I really like the parallels that we were all talking about, like seeing how both like Fisk and Daredevil, like Kingpin and Daredevil, are becoming more and more solid as the episodes go further. And by the 13th episode, we're just going to get Kingpin and Daredevil in their pure form, like their final molding of who they are. So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah. Why don't we move into, and we'll like keep talking a little bit. Why don't we move into
And now, your AFTERBUZZ TV after
the predictions is what we're doing here.
Okay.
What are you guys thinking for episode 12?
Yeah, I mean, this was definitely an episode where we're still seeing Matt rebound and get back on his feet because he got his ass kicked.
Yeah.
So I think it's very realistic that we're not seeing a lot of action right now. But I think that episodes 12 and 13 have to be just dynamite. Like, there has to be some crazy, huge fights that happen, and a lot of, I mean, I hope we see some, like, summing up of character stories. So I'm hoping for some serious action. I really think that we're going to learn about Karen. I like, that's what I'm hoping. I'm really hoping that we see some of Karen's backstory.
That'd be cool.
I'm pumped to see his costume. I think it's just going to be, like, very enlightening last 2 episodes.
Yeah.
For me, I think because I know that they wrote this because they expected people to binge watch. So I think episode 12 is going to be really frustrating for us, because I think it's just going to be a build of tension for the payoff of episode 13.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be a lot of like setting up pieces and kind of like getting everyone where they're finally supposed to be. And then episode 13 is going to be like the huge payoff, the big action set pieces, the big kind of like character like conclusions, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think what we're gonna see is, to that point, we're gonna see Matt going out like with a newfound confidence.
Yeah.
Where he's gonna be like, I'm going to track down Fisk, like one way or the other, and like that's gonna lead him to going through. I think he's gonna track down Owlsley. Or like, which would lead him to Gao.
Yeah.
And then like, only in the finale does he get back to Fisk. Like, he's basically gonna be going in trying to take down Fisk's empire.
Yeah.
While Fisk like struggles to maintain a hold of it already. So I think we're gonna see that sort of like newfound Daredevil confidence and like the beginnings of Kingpin, because of just like fury that he's going to feel after losing the 2 people closest to him.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, and before we wrap up here, I want to talk to you guys about another awesome show that ABC, Disney, the company that gave us all the Marvel shows
and Mickey Mouse.
But ABC is going to be putting out a new show soon called The Whispers, and let's take a quick look at that.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
So Harper has a new friend. He's what you might call imaginary.
This Monday, what if a child's imaginary friend wasn't imaginary?
Grown-ups can't see him.
The can't-miss drama of the summer
I think this friend is real.
Told you, Mommy.
arrives.
I don't think we're dealing with a who. I think we're dealing with a what.
The Whispers. Series premiere Monday, 10/9 Central on ABC.
We talked about it a little bit last week's show, but I'm so creeped out.
I'm just excited to see like a full season exploration of a horror trope.
Yeah,
like I think that'll be really cool.
Totally. Little kids and scary anything. I'm not into it. I can watch a lot of scary movies and I'm pretty into the genre, but anything with a little kid just hits a nerve.
Yeah, well,
I'm not okay with it.
As somebody who had imaginary friends as a child, I don't want them to come back.
No,
they're probably real mad at me for abandoning them when I hit puberty.
As someone who was a little kid one time, I can tell you that they are very scary. I don't know if anyone else was a little kid, but I experienced it once for
I think I skipped that.
like 5 or 6 years. And very scary. So I don't recommend it.
I mean, this show has a great cast. You've got Lily Robb from American Horror Story, Barry Sloan from Revenge, Milo Ventimiglia, who you might remember as Peter from Heroes.
Yes.
Because I don't think
Also
he's
Gilmore
on
Girls.
and Kristen Connolly from House of Cards.
Cool.
So it's gonna be it's gonna be an interesting show. I highly recommend you guys check it out. So, last thoughts as we move towards episode 12.
1, 2.
Other than just, I think, is it safe to say we're all just really excited?
I just want Karen to be a badass continuously.
I think we're gonna get some Leland and Gao stuff. I think it's been a while since we've seen we haven't seen
Gao.
them. Yeah, I want to see Gao. I want to see that old lady kick more butt.
Yeah, Gao is the coolest, one of the coolest characters.
Scary.
She's a freaking evil genius.
How old do we think she is? Over or under 500?
I'm gonna go over it, man.
Okay.
With wisdom like that, you go, Gao.
Okay.
Be my grandmother.
Hashtag you go Gao.
Hashtag you go, Gao. For you.
Make that thing happen, guys. But we'll be back next week to talk about episode 12, The Ones We Leave Behind.
Oh, no.
Ominous.
Foreshadowing.
Until then, Jamie Elias, where can people keep up with you?
You can find me on Twitter or Instagram at Jamie S. Elias, JamieSelias. Bye, guys.
You can find me at Jess Klein 1. That's JESSKLEIN, the number 1. You can see me doing live comedy all over this place.
Make sure you check out Mark Donica, who's not here, at Soapbox Mark. I always seem to forget somehow. But you guys can follow me on Twitter at @ZachWilson, ThatZachWilson. I have a bunch more shows coming this summer, so look, whenever The Leftovers premieres, I don't know when HBO's going to announce that premiere date, but I will be covering that. You can also, if you're a comic book reader, I'm covering as much of Secret Wars as I can afford to on the reviews on a blog, which you can find at geekvent.blogspot.com, or I'll be just on my Twitter feed. Guys, I'm Zach Wilson, and thanks for geeking out with us.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.